What if I told you that everything you know about one of history's greatest leaders is a lie? Today, we're exposing the truth about Napoleon Bonaparte. Trust me, myth number 4 will completely change how you see him. And stick around until the end. I'll share a bonus fact that even many history buffs don't know. Okay, history fans, let's sort facts from fiction about the man, the myth, the legend, Napoleon Bonaparte. Imagine being the greatest French leader ever, except you're not actually French. Napoleon was born on the island of Corsica in 1769, just 15 months after it became part of France. His family was of Italian descent, and Napoleon grew up speaking Italian as his first language. His Italian name was Napoleone di Bonaparte. He was sent to French military school at age 9 where he learned French. Napoleon was actually made fun of for his accent at the military school. But being an outsider, that might have been his secret weapon. He turned weakness into strength. That outsider status made him adaptable. Think of him as the ultimate transfer student who becomes a class president. The famous self-coronation? Yeah, that's not exactly how it went down. Napoleon did put the crown on his own head during his coronation in 1804, but this was planned to show his authority. It didn't mean he was rejecting the Pope's role. The Pope was still there and blessed the ceremony. The crown snatch was actually choreographed. Napoleon's decision to crown himself was a planned political move to show that his power came from his own achievements and abilities. He also crowned Josephine himself. That was the real power move. Fun fact, his crown was made of laurel leaves in gold, like Roman emperors. Think Napoleon was history's biggest ego? Wait until you hear this. Napoleon cared about how people saw him and his legacy, but he wasn't obsessed with vanity like many people think. Although he did order some portraits and statues of himself, this was pretty common for leaders at the time to show a strong public image. Napoleon was more focused on running the government and leading military campaigns. He actually hated sitting for portraits, and many of his famous paintings were done without him present. Napoleon's quote on sitting for portraits, "A motionless man is a degraded man." He preferred simple military uniform over fancy clothes and kept the same hairstyle for years. No time for trends. Here's where it gets really interesting. While Napoleon took control and made himself emperor, he also kept many of the important changes from the French Revolution, like legal equality, which was a radical concept for its time, not to mention religious freedom, public education, property rights, and getting rid of feudal privileges. His Napoleonic Code updated the legal system and is still the basis for many laws around the world today. He promoted people based on talent, not birth. But yes, he wasn't exactly a democrat. Think of him as the iOS update to the revolution's beta version. Was he an upgraded revolution or a system crash? Let me know in the comments. Time to expose one of history's biggest misunderstandings. Napoleon wanted to spread French influence across Europe and other parts of the world, but there is no proof that he aimed to control the entire globe. His main focus was gaining power in Europe and protecting France's global interests. His wars were mostly caused by conflicts with European countries, not a desire to rule the world. In fact, France was at war before Napoleon took power, and most wars were declared against France, not by Napoleon. He did get carried away with success, but who wouldn't? His famous quote, "I found the crown of France in the gutter. I picked it up with the tip of my sword." This escape was more Ocean's 11 than Lone Wolf. Napoleon's escape from Elba in 1815 is often told as an exciting, heroic story, but he didn't do it all on his own with just a few followers. He had help from supporters in France and Italy. When he arrived back in France, many of his old soldiers joined him, allowing him to march to Paris without any fighting. This event is known as the 100 Days. His guards were actually helping him, and even the British kind of looked the other way. And the fun fact, he escaped with his horse, dog, and personal chef. The truth about Waterloo will change how you see Napoleon forever. While the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 ended Napoleon's rule, his downfall had started earlier. The failed invasion of Russia in 1812 and his defeat at the Battle of Leipzig in 1813 greatly weakened his power. By the time he returned from exile for the Waterloo campaign, his army was much weaker, and he had already lost a lot of political support before losing on the battlefield. The Battle of Waterloo was his last attempt to hold on to power, but it was really just the final blow after a series of defeats. One little-known fact: Napoleon wanted to escape to America after his defeat, but his plans were stopped when British ships blocked him from leaving. And now for a bonus myth number 8. The famous image of Napoleon with his hand inside his coat comes from portrait traditions where this pose symbolized leadership, calmness, and dignity. It was a common way to show someone's authority and self-control in 19th century portraits. Think of it as the 1800s equivalent of the LinkedIn profile pose. It wasn't Napoleon's typical stance, but artists popularized it to reflect his status and control. So, which of these myths surprised you the most? Drop a comment below. If you learned something new, smash that like button and subscribe for more history myths debunked. And if you want to learn more about another legendary historical figure, check out our next video, The Truth About Leonardo da Vinci's Genius: What You Didn't Know.